I'm so happy to see you. I
Likewise.
am, you know, it's been such a joy in oh, there's noise happening. Can you hear that?
No.
Yeah, I'm getting horrible noise. Hold on a second. That's because, Paul, I used to have a crew. And I didn't have to deal with this.
You know who I used to think I was? It was amazing inside here and all. I've got noise in my head right now. So, once you get used to it, you embrace it. You go, wow, I can't hear very well out here, but boy, my hearing is fantastic in the middle of the night in my head.
He always asks me if I can hear the ringing in his ears.
Yeah.
So yeah, so
Yeah.
we have some of that going on, but I wanted to say first of all, let me start with this. I've been doing this for a while. I've interviewed a lot of wonderful people. I have never, and this is no BS, I am not blowing smoke. There is not anyone ever who is as beloved as you are, who every single person that has written to me has had a story about you, why they adore you. Jack! His name is Jack.
Jack.
Jack. Everybody
Jack McGee, my actor.
Jack McGee is who I
love Jack McGee.
Jack McGee is sending you love. He said he met you in Paris.
Yeah, we did see each other in Paris, but we knew each other before that because of that. We both we have a design for living that makes the world a safer place.
It does, and we have a friend named Bill. Lots of us have a friend named Bill.
A lot of us have a friend named
Bill. That comes in very handy. But seriously, Paul, my big question to you, I have never seen anybody who is so adored. And I'm wondering, was it always this way? I mean, because where we started, where we come from before getting sober, did everybody love you like that?
I wouldn't have any way of knowing. I was so busy adoring myself. God, what's happened in the last 33 years is that, first of all, gratitude has swept my consciousness, and I've finally arrived at the point where gratitude and generosity are fuel, and I am so in awe of the world around me. Of course, at this point, there's a lot of people crawling through glass, and there's so much hatred and anxiety and vile behavior and the like. But what is down front and central in my life is I'm surrounded by a lot of people in recovery, and I am amazed at the fact that we are all living miracles. And I don't, you hear people talking about there are those, every now and then there's a miracle and they mention the letters that I don't mention in a public setting.
Correct.
That organization, I do honor that tradition. But the fact is, all of a sudden I'm really, really amazed at the fact that we're all miracles. And the miracle goes right back to the fact that if somebody is sitting in a meeting and they are drunk but they came to a meeting, they're a miracle. God, I never had a problem, but somebody prayed for me, and in a blackout, I called it a doctor, and I wound up getting sober. So I didn't even have that. So
I was going to ask you how you got into the rooms. You didn't have a bottom. You didn't have a
I had a bottom. I had a bottom, but I didn't have a problem because, when I started, my name is Paul, and I'm an alcoholic. I'm an addict, and I'm a retired amateur pharmacist as well. And, with chasing the right combination of drugs through the years and all, I don't think I ever came to that point where I go, oh God, I have to stop. I just had to get the right combination where I could continue to fool everybody, as I always did. And I'm telling you that I thought I was fooling people when, as my friend Pat McCormick used to say, when you've been up, doing blow 2 nights in a row, your breath would spin the windmill in a Lowell painting. It's like, and they did Steve Kessler did a documentary, Paul Williams Still Alive. And
Fantastic documentary.
well, you,
Mhm.
but you watch it, Vicki. It's just, I'm this vapid, dead-eyed, arrogant little prick, excuse the language. I mean, I see myself in when I'm hosting the Merv Griffin show,
Mm.
and I'm joking about infidelity on the road, and my kids are watching, so it's like, yeah, I was awful. Was I loved? Yeah, more than I should have been, more than I should have
Mm.
been. The peak of getting love for me at this point is, I mean, when I got sober, my son was 9 and my daughter was 5. And I would sit them down in front of, I wrote the songs for a movie called Bugsy Malone. I'd sit them down in front of Bugsy Malone on television again, give them a barbecue chicken pizza from Coyote Cafe in Laurel Canyon, and go in the other room and go, Jesus, what do I say to them? I didn't have a clue about how to be a dad. That was way, way up on the ladder, way above my pay grade. I mean, I'm just newly sober and loving it, but I don't know how to be a dad. About 6 months ago, after a devastating fire that wiped out my daughter's neighborhood, but her home was spared, and then having to deal with the toxicity of the fire and the smoke and 2 small children and everything, after dealing with all this and being in the trenches with her on that, and she's so healthy. She's a therapist, and she's, and
How
at one
fabulous.
point she said to me, you know what, Dad, congratulate you, finally hit full tilt, Papa Bear. And I went, what? She said, you hit full tilt, Papa Bear.
Wow.
And that's like, that's some affection that has, that's solid gold. That's a heart payment. And I hadn't earned it until evidently recently I've earned it. And that's that program that we don't mention by name, because what began to happen in my life is I began to reflect the elegance of kindness that was shined into my life by people that I didn't know, who prayed for me, and by people who, when I walked into a room and was honest enough to say, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm dying and I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to drive drunk with my kids in the car like my dad did with me, when I was honest enough to do that. In that holy moment, and we've seen it, most of us that are sober have seen that from 2 sides. When we came in and we shared the truth, finally, we saw that response, and now we get it to see it, as I know you do, from the other side. When somebody sits down across from you and goes, well, got 5 years and I haven't been here in a while, and so the job is at least at home with the wife and the kids, and watch this person, just his body language just sinks, and he goes, I can't even do this. I don't think I have today. I think I had a drink after midnight. And when somebody and they've been working hard to hide this crap and this behavior for maybe decades, is all of a sudden leaning forward and telling me the truth and you the truth. It's just,
It's stunning.
It's stunning. It's I wish we could bottle it. I wish we could spray it around the globe, especially in Washington, D.C. I would just, oh my God.
Around George Santos. But Paul, something that makes you even more endearing to me is that at one point, I can't remember what the circumstance was, but I think you came into a meeting and you said, I'm late, I got stuck in traffic. And then you busted yourself and you were like watching golf or something. And what was so perfect,
I told the truth.
You told the truth. But what was so perfect about the moment, Paul, is that we are still human beings. I am an addict till the day I die. My default is always going to be liar, cheater, stealer. I mean, I have to be vigilant to be this other person, and I still misstep all the time. Not in hopefully big ways, but
Yeah, yeah. But you know, it's a little thing, and there's something inside that causes it. I'm not sure what it is, but somebody walks up to me and go, "You're in the music business. You must know Phil Henderman." And my head's bobbing like that, Freddie Prince's little dog in the back of the window, like Phil Henderman, like, and I have no idea who Phil Henderman is, but my head is already lying. And then eventually, because I know I'm supposed to know who this guy. How did I hold on? Let me let Mariana in. Mariana's at the
Oh,
door.
yes, go let Mariana in. Hi, everybody. I know you probably have questions out there, and I'm going to try and kind of, I'm looking at all the hellos from everybody, and I'm going to try and, Adam, I'm seeing Boy in the Plastic Bubble, Paul signed your LP. Nice. Hi, Barbara. Hi, Lynn. Hi, Linda. Hi, Mickey. Hi, Edward. Hi, Tova. Hi, Danny. Hi, Tony. Hi, Valerie. Hi, Jean. We're waiting for, oh, wait, you're back. Holy, I'm reading all the hellos.
I heard you saying hi to all those nice people. No, I just, what isn't that charming? He got up and let his wife in the door because we have a sticky front door. We have to get a new. Anyway, what I was saying is that my head is already lying.
I love your head is lying.
and that but eventually my recovery will catch up with me, and I go, I'm sorry, I don't know who that is. And the look on somebody's face when you've been doing this for for a minute, and then you go, I don't know who that is. It's wonderful. It's a perplexed look that really works. Anyway,
so was telling the truth something you had to learn to do?
Well, to hide my medicine, I became a chronic and habitual liar.
Mm-hmm.
And it became, it was a self-preservation skill. Mm-hmm. that I thought was working. Because I lied all the time, not only about not being sober, about saying I was sober when I wasn't, but all the gigs that I, all the appointments that I missed. I mean, again and again and again, I would call and I'd say, you know what, I've got to have emergency dental work, so you would think that I had teeth that were just spectacular because of all the dental work that I had done. And it was usually me lying because I was like just about to nod out because I'd run out of blow, and then they want me to talk to the head of programming, daytime programming at ABC about writing a song called Love in the Afternoon. Danny, my manager, would you take this meeting for me? I need to go see the dentist again. He went, really? Yeah. Ooh.
So, Paul, how much wreckage did you, because one of the things we do in that place we won't name is that we clean up the wreckage of our past. How did you even begin to clean up that wreckage with all the heads of the studios and the record labels and the...
Well, Tracy Jackson, who was, my dear friend and longtime friend and writing partner on the one book that I was ever associated with as a writer. She talked about the fact that she had a show in development at one of the networks and said that, that I really want Paul Williams to play this one part. And they said, back up a truck full of cocaine if you want Paul Williams.
Wow.
When I got sober, the career that I thought I had been gone for probably 10 years. I mean, the 80s were just, you're an alcoholic when you misplace a decade. And so I'm walking around the Paul Williams, like a star on Hollywood Boulevard, like that and all. And I have slowly but surely moved into the land of who, Paul, who,
No.
But embrace that. That's the truth, And so when I got sober, and it's funny because the first thing I did when I got sober, and the first job, as far as writing for something major, was thanks to the generosity of Brian Henson and the Muppets. Because I'd done a lot of work with with the Henson family and the Muppets, and They called and asked me to write the songs for the Muppet Christmas Carol. And think about the universe providing the perfect job for you to welcome back job to write about somebody named Scrooge who's having a spiritual awakening, or somebody named Paul is having a spiritual awakening. I mean, I felt like, and it was the most beautiful match where all I had to do was get out of the way and let the grace that had saved me, find find the words that matched up to how I felt. And it was just, and the technique, the way that I write changed immediately when I got sober. Because
okay, I want to ask you about this, because when you're in a fog, I hate to interrupt you because I could just let you go, but I have so many questions. When you're in a fog, when you're in a drug-induced fog, did things just come in one? Was it more arduous? Like, how did your writing change? Sober, not sober?
Well, when I was loaded, I was brilliant.
Well, of course.
When I was brilliant, I would, and I would write down, picture a diamond in the dark. Without the light, it cannot shine. If you need words to know your mind, what must my silence do? Oh, Jesus, this is brilliant. But who's going to relate to that? Nobody, because it's all from the head, and there's no. I wrote ouch mommy songs. I'm famous for writing codependent anthems. I won't last a day without you is not a healthy thought, but it's the way a lot of us feel when there's no getting over that rainbow. When my smallest of dreams won't.
I was crying in the shower listening to your music this afternoon. Literally crying in the shower. You write from your kishkas.
I do. For my kids, I do. Okay.
You do. You write from your kishkas. But was it more? Okay, so this is my question. So would things come to you in a, or was it more arduous, or did that not really change sober, not sober?
No. When I started writing as a contract writer at A&M Records with a guy named Roger Nichols, and we just wrote almost every day. And we sat down, and he would play music for me, note for note, B-D-da-D-da-da-D-da-da-da, and I would write. If he wrote D-da-da-da-da, I wrote "We've only just begun." I mean, it was note for note, word for word. And because I hear words in the music is an expressed emotion. I respond to expressed emotions, whether you're smiling or looking at me like, what's wrong with you? I'm responding to that, and I respond to the emotion in a melody. So I developed my craft at the hem of a brilliant composer, and then I started writing more alone and the like. But what happened is the 70s was all about, I started writing late. I was like 27.
I heard you tell a story about being on set with Marlon Brando when you picked up a little guitar and had a little break. Can you tell us that story?
Yeah, I was sharing a dressing room with a kid named Mark Seaton who had a beautiful guitar. We were working on a movie called The Chase with Marlon Brando, Robert Redford, Jane Fonda, Robert Duvall. It was an amazing cast. And I think
how old are you?
At the time, I'm like 25. And I'm playing a 16-year-old, teenagers that are flying around in hot rods and all. And I think I have 2 lines in the picture. It was a huge, huge picture. And shooting mainly at night. And we're shooting a scene where there's Robert Redford is a prisoner who's escaped. He's hiding in a junkyard, and us kids set the junkyard on fire. His name was Bubba. And this guy that I shared a dressing room with, Mark Seaton, had a beautiful guitar, and I picked it up and he went, "Don't touch that, it's a Martin." I said, I didn't know they had names, so this was Martin. Okay. But I went out and I got myself a little guitar. I painted it so it would play really good. It's just I knew nothing about music, but I'm looking and I'm finding chords. I don't know what they're called. I don't know a C is a C or whatever. Somebody must have shown me how to tune it. And I'm just sitting watching this scene being shot, and I'm just, for my own amusement, I just, without even thinking about it, I went, "Bubba, Bubba, Bubba, come out wherever you are. Oh, we're gonna come in and get you. Yes, we're gonna come in and get you." And Robert Duvall was walking by, and he went, "What is that?" I said, "It's a guitar. I just bought it." He said, "Not the guitar. What you were singing." I said, and I thought I was in trouble. I was like, "Oh, it's nothing. I just made it up. He said, come with me. I go, oh, now I'm really in trouble. He walks me over to Arthur Penn, the director, brilliant director, coming off the success of The Miracle Worker he directed. So, and I mean, it's like this monster cast, and I go over to Arthur Penn. He says, show him. I said, it's a guitar. What I mean, he's not showing the song. So I showed him the little song, and he said, Kohler, stand over here by the barbed wire. And he said, okay, light them up. And they lit everything up, brought the Kodak around, and they shot it. And they shot it again with me and standing up in the back of a little Deuce, little hot rod we'd been running around in. And it's in the movie. So it's like the universe is going, no, acting, no, not acting, no, this is what you need to do. And 2 years later, I started writing songs. I mean, you would have thought that I would have immediately gone, wow, but I didn't, And the fact,
what'd you do what you were acting in those 2 years?
During the 2 years, mainly I was like sitting around waiting for the phone to ring. And then they took the phone out, and then my mom moved in with me from back east or the Midwest. And then she got a job, and it was like, so, and it's just, and what happened is I had met a guy. I was a improvisational actor on the Mort Saul show.
Oh, Mort Saul.
Mort Saul had a local TV show. And so I was on there, and I met a guy named Biff Rose who had some wonderful, funny songs and some beautiful songs. And he had started a song called Fill Your Heart. And I jumped in and I wrote the lyrics to a big hunk of it when he went to A&M Records and he played several songs of his, including 2 or 3 that we'd written. And they gave him an advance, and he rented a piano he had a gig that night at the God, what was the name of it? Anyway, in Pasadena, the Ice House. And, anyway, so he said, but incidentally, there's these songs that there was somebody else who worked on the lyrics, and so I went in and I was given a contract. It was great. That song was recorded, Fill Your Heart was recorded by Tiny Tim. It was the B-side of Tiptoe Through the Tulips. And they played it as much as they did Tiptoe. And I was like, I love Tiny, but God, I'm rock and roll. I'm white light and black leather. Come on, and I'm not. I'm like this middle of the road guy. Eventually, it's interesting. No is like, no, I did not want that song necessarily there. Years later, because of that recording of it, it was recorded by David Bowie and on the Hunky Dory album, and it's like I couldn't have planned to ever get that song to him. So it was like, wait a minute, I go from going, yeah, but I don't, yeah, but to, wow, Hunky Dory's got my song on it, So
you've been kind of
the bumper sticker is no as a gift,
there are 3 answers to any question, I've been told. Yes, not right now, something better. There is no, right?
Write it down, put it on a card, and and let everybody learn that, because when you believe that, you let go of the fear, and the fear is a prayer. I believe that what we dwell on, we create. Early sobriety, I fell in love with Emmett Fox and Emmett Fox's writing, and just the concept that, like going, I'm not going to get that job, is heard as by the universe as a prayer,
I use the Golden Key today, as a matter of fact. Emmett Fox wrote the Golden Key. That's one of my favorite tools. Were you the one who said recently, somebody said to me, Keb Mo said to me, every word I say is a prayer. And I guess he got that from the Dalai Lama. I think he got that from, but that's kind of beautiful right there.
Yeah. And, the power of intention that, I think Wes, Wes is
I do.
Yeah, an amazing guy, and we've worked together for a long, long time. He talks about the fact that God is always just a thought away. It's just a thought away. God is there. So if and one of the things I think it's in Around the Year with Emmett Fox, he talks about the fact that the Inuit, with the sled dogs, if they saw 2 sled dogs fighting, they would see God where the dogs were, the dogs would stop fighting. And it was like, come on, it's it makes sense that if God is or isn't, and my line always about God is it's not a God of my understanding. I could have, I mean, God, I should, instead of being called he or she, God should be called they, which is an important word in my family. Uh, but also
Tell everybody what you call your God, Paul.
the big amigo.
The
Yeah.
big amigo.
And I don't understand God, but I don't understand electricity either. And I use it every day. It lights up my life, you know.
Paul, so what sparked you? Why did you want to be an actor? What I get what got you to music. What sparked you to want to be an actor?
When I was 13 years old, my dad, who was a drunk, died in a single car wreck. I was one of those kids who got up, he'd get me up in the middle of the night to sing, you know, Danny Boy to his friend Ike McShane that he drank with. Ike McShane, incidentally, hated me. And I mean, the last thing Ike McShane wanted was to hear some gnome sing Danny Boy in the middle of the night. And it's interesting in retrospect, at 82, I look back at that and I go, I could see that. I mean, as a little boy, I could see that, but my dad couldn't, because he had the blinders of his addiction, you know. He was in his cups, as they used to say, and he didn't see that. I mean, he would be drunk driving the car, and I felt like my attention was keeping the car on the road. If I just concentrated, if I just don't look at me, you know. So when I talk about that, and when I speak, you know, about my recovery, I try to always put that in as a tip of the hat to, and a kind of living amends to the Al-Anons in the room, because what we do when we're in our addiction, and you know, the crap we do to people is just, you know, in defense of our own indefensible behavior is really bad. So I like to talk about, you know, what I've sensed about that behavior, and how, you know, a young lady that was my girlfriend who would say to me, you know, I know you're using, I love you too much to watch you die. I'm gonna have to leave, but let's get you some help. And I go, what did your dad do to you? What's wrong with you? You know, you can't trust me. She would doubt herself, you know, and you know, and it's funny, I'll tell that at a meeting sometimes if I'm speaking and bring that up, and a lot of times there's laughter, and I go, that's not funny, you know. It's funny, but it's not funny because it's damaging. And what we do to protect keep our medicine safe and hidden it can be really, really destructive.
Did you get to make an amends to her, Paul?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I have.
Okay, so wait, let's go back to that other question. We're gonna weave recovery through this. So at 13, what lit your spark to want to be an actor? How did that path start for you?
I think that when my dad died and I was shipped off to live with an aunt and uncle, my mother kept my younger brother. The aunt that was supposed to keep me for 2 weeks while she moved had me sit down and write. She said, if you go home, every bite of food that you take will be a bite of food your brother's not going to get. And if you're the little man that I think you are, you're going to write a letter to your mom and say that you really want to stay here. So I did that. So I was manipulated into writing these letters, and I wanted to go home.
Wow.
I wanted to go home. So, but after all that, I didn't want to. I don't think I ever consciously thought I don't want to be. I didn't even feel a lot of what was going on until I was probably 5 years sober. I looked at my childhood and I went, oh my God, it's like Dickens. It's like, how could you not have been crying yourself to sleep every night?
When did you start fooling around with drugs and alcohol?
Probably in like the 9th or 10th grade with my buddies. I had a buddy that worked in the stockroom of a liquor store. His name was Chuck Hinkle. And if we gave him the money, he'd give it the booze out the back. And when I was, you know, out drinking with my buddies, and I had a really slow body clock. They'd given me shots when I was like 8 or 9 because I wasn't growing, and a doctor in Albuquerque gave me male hormone. which is the worst thing he could have done. He said, "Oh, make this boy grow," gave me shots, and it kicked me into puberty. And all of a sudden, I had no interest in my toy chest, but my Aunt Edna's chest was like, wow, And they noticed they stopped the shots, but when they stopped the shots, it's like, so I had all this desire that is so weird for a little 9-year-old guy, and then they take all the hormones away, and so
Wait, so what did that do to you? You had them, then you didn't have them.
Physically, I didn't hit puberty till I was like 22.
Oh,
so I went through high school with a body that looked like it was made out of cantaloupe. And going in the showers going, "I don't care how big you make me, but cover me with fur, please."
Oh my God.
But I'll tell you, at 82, when I feel like a tired 34, I'm grateful for that slow body clock, because I don't feel 82 or act 82 when I may get zapped by the big amigo tomorrow or hit by a beer truck or something. But the fact is that I am younger than my years.
You certainly are.
And I think it's related somehow to the mistake that was made when I was like 9. And I will tell you that the emotional repercussions of that was a romanticizing and appreciation for the delicacy of love and attention that made me want to write songs that were not kick-ass masculine songs. They were songs like "If I can make you cry, if I can fill your eyes with pleasure just by holding you in the early hours of the morning, when the day that lies ahead's not quite begun, that's enough for me. That's all the hero I need be."
That's hero plenty, Paul.
What?
That's crazy, hero. The songs that you've written, the body of your work. So how did you do that when you were fucked up? How were you able to be so creative? How were you able to keep that together?
I don't know. How are you?
I was not. I still am not prolific as you were. Are.
So a lot of it was just that I found when I started looking for words to write songs and notes and chords to write songs, I came face to face with probably 26, 27 years of not feeling stuff and kind of being okay with everything and just saying what I thought people wanted to hear and doing a short joke, and short jokes were my refuge, and I had came up with a line the other night: "Trouble was a second home." And it was just, but all of a sudden I was sitting down, breathing, and enthusiastically looking to express something that I was feeling.
But
there was a backlog of so much to express. And the blessed key was that when I first started writing, I collaborated with one guy almost every day. And then I added other guys. And then I started writing words and music and all this emotion. And a lot of it was needy. A lot of it was, I won't last a day without you, is not a healthy thought, but it was something that I expressed that I think a lot of people felt. Roger and I wrote, our songs were not on the radio until the Carpenters came around. These two kids showed up and they knew our songs. They knew songs that were album cuts and all. And then they went in and recorded "We've Only Just Begun" and "Rainy Days and Mondays," and "Let Me Be the One." They were so amazing. And the career that I have, I mean, when an angel sings your songs like Karen Carpenter, it's just, everything changes. Everything changes.
Is it true that the Fifth Dimension were originally going to record that song?
I'm not sure. I know I one of the first tour that I did was with the Fifth, and they've been friends for my entire life. I'd worked with Marilyn on Solid Gold for years. We were co-hosts of Solid Gold.
Wow.
I think that we've only just begun, had all the romantic beginnings of a bank commercial. It was a bank commercial Roger and I wrote for Crocker Bank. They showed a young couple getting married and driving off into the sunset, and we wrote the song and then finished it as a complete song, just in case somebody would ever want to record it. It was certainly the #1 album at the time was in Agata Devita, so this was not going to be a big hit by anybody. But we finished the song, and then I sang it on the commercial. And Richard Carpenter, like in the middle of the night, sleepless night, thank you God, saw the commercial, and he recognized my voice, and he called and asked if there was a complete song. We said yes, and he recorded it, and it changed everything. It changed everything.
Okay, so you didn't quite you didn't stop acting to go do this. You were able to do both, and you still continue to do both.
Well, let me put it this way. I was given the opportunity to act, and you can see the acting in almost all of it. There's a scene from Policewoman in Paul Williams still alive, where Angie Dickinson shoots me. It's the worst death you've ever seen on film. I'm like, it's just, and then so there was a lot of that. But I mean, I wanted to act. I did the Tonight Show with Robert Blake, and I said, I love Beretta. He said, well, write one, and I did. And he said, you're the only one that ever did. I wrote one for myself, and did an episode of that. I wrote a policewoman. I wrote,
Wow.
a Hawaii, not a policewoman. I wrote a Hawaii 5-0, whatever like that. And it was some really mediocre acting. On the other side of that is, at this point in my life, I mean, I just spent 2 years with Billy Bob Thornton on Goliath, and
fantastic.
Oh my God, the level that he works at, that is just honest, just listen. What are you feeling when you hear somebody say that to you, and say it back, and then respond? It's just, and so it's, there was so much ego in my acting for so long, and hopefully that I've gotten to a place where in some ways, acting is for me at this point in my life, when I get a chance to act, is what songwriting was at that point, where it was a place to deal with the emotions and honestly and express them. I just love it. I just am the luckiest human being in the world. I'm so grateful.
Well, I think we're the luckiest human beings to get to benefit from all of your luck, as you call it, Paul. All right. So wait, I've asked this question 5 times. So tell me, what lit the fire? What started that whole creative thing for you at 13? What was it? Did you see something? What made you say, okay, I want to do that. I'm going to do that.
I don't think that it was conscious. I think that I wanted to be somebody else. I mean, I was very, very different. I was a little boy trapped in a teenager body, around teenagers that were becoming young men, and I wasn't. And so I was drastically physically different, and eventually, I caught up. It's like one of those. Wait a minute. We're home at last. It's like, now let's examine this in detail. And I did, and I was just, but there was a lot of years there where I just, I wanted, it's really difficult to be different and feel different. It's dangerous to be special, because, and that's, I would get to a point in my life, or I would get to a point in my life where I began to see that everybody was special, and sometimes, the broken have something just wonderfully special in what occurs on post breakage, when you find yourself in pieces. Sometimes when you pick yourself up and some amazing force kind of puts you back together, sometimes you come back together in a way that allows you to be less trapped by your own ego, your own uniqueness, and your own difference. And You know, there was an amazing book by the woman, I think it was Alice Miller that wrote the drama The Gifted Child. And she wrote a book about genius and why some genius are loving and kind and productive, and why some are Hitler, you know.
Mhm.
And what she found is she looked at, somebody like Picasso, whose mother, I think, died in giving childbirth during an earthquake. I mean, this horrific thing that he experienced, and yet he turned into I mean, granted, it was evidently a very interesting man and a bit of a loose cannon, whatever and all, but he was productive. He was, and he created something beautiful. And yet he had this horrible experience, and Hitler had evidently a similar and was evil, obviously. But the difference was that Picasso had a sympathetic witness, had somebody that's a nanny who said, you know what, you don't deserve this. You didn't cause this, and you certainly don't deserve to have experienced what you did. And you're going to be all right. You're a good person. You're going to be fine. And there's something in that, and I think that for me, it was some writer buddies, some actor buddies in junior high and high school who were my sympathetic witness. And I think that having a sense of that makes all of us, more caring about the people around us.
I that makes so much sense to me. Did your mother support you? How did your mother feel about what you were doing? And you got success really quickly. How is she with all of that?
Well, she passed away when I was 34, so she saw the whole thing with the explosion of the songwriting and the gold records and I did 48 Tonight shows. She saw probably half of those. What's interesting is that I began to understand what she suffered with getting letters from me that said I wanted to stay. Her husband has been killed. She has no skill other than being she was a homemaker. She went to work. She's got a little boy living in a trailer who's at home in the dark. It's still dark, and she's taking 3 buses to get home. I was out with people, and the people that had essentially just adopted me or taken me away from that household, that trailer that was warm and loving and whatever, were crazy people with a lot of money. So they bought me a horse, and it was like, but she had done what she thought was right for me, Now, 5 years of Kleinian analysis, or was not many, I'm exaggerating. Probably 3 years of Kleinian analysis, and interrupted what I was not as dedicated as it was supposed to be. But I had an amazing therapist who just, all she wanted me to do was eventually stop defending my mother and go, but she gave you up, and it really hurt, and I was going, yeah, but she was. I think at a certain point she actually said it, which therapists usually don't do, like probably sat on my chest and went, say it. Gave you up. Say
Wow.
it.
Wow.
But I have to tell you that I went home the day after I graduated from high school, and I know was never going to go back. And we compared the letters that I've written and what she had written to me and not sent. And it was like, oh my God, I was back in my mother's arms with my little brother. Yeah, she was so proud. I wrote a song right when she was dying of ovarian cancer. In 1974, I had a song that I had written for a movie called The Man Who Loved Cat Dancing. The song's not in the movie, but it's a song called Dream Away, and Frank Sinatra recorded it. I called Sarge Weiss at Frank's office, and I said, you know what, my mother's really, really ill, and there's this song that's kind of also about the movie, but it's also about what she's going through right now. And I'd love to play it for her. And put Frank on the phone. And Frank said, I'll take care of it. He called me Mr. Pauly, I'll take care of this. And he sent me a dub of the song. And so I played this song for my mom. And it's like, the tagline it is, when there's no room left to live inside ourselves, do we dream away? When the winter breeds the northern wind, the child they bear as snow, and the branches bow like worried bridesmaids, but the trees will grow. Sun and earth in time will come together. God will give us back our summer weather. But the memories of that first sweet taste of love pass away so slow. So dream away, child. Let your dreams run wild, or a lifetime of worries could tame you. Dream away, child. Let your dreams run wild, or the years and the tears shed might tame you. Can the wise men count the pointless lies we tell, or the price we pay? And our song's a place to keep those words of love that I could not say. And when there's no room left to live inside ourselves, do we dream away? And I played her Sinatra singing that, and she went, now you're a real songwriter.
Oh, oh my Lord.
That's what she thought. Now you're a real songwriter.
Wow.
Wow.
I think you told us last time that Rainy Days and Mondays, didn't you write that for your mom? Did that have something to do with your mom?
Well, Roger played me this beautiful melody, da da dee da doo da dee da da, and I'm thinking, what am I going to write about? And I remember that when I was, after the thing with the chase and all, and she's out going to work in the morning. She'd get up in the morning, and I'd be up all night long in my pajamas out on the couch writing songs. And she would say to me, she'd go, don't worry, my son, God has a plan, and then she'd walk away, and she cussed to herself like nobody could hear her. She'd be like, son of a bitch, what's going to happen to that little, my son is one. And I go, Mom, what's the matter? And she'd go, which for her was a word. She'd go, oh, you wouldn't, never mind. I'm just feeling old, So I'm sitting there, and Roger goes, dude. I'm going, what am I going to talk about? And I remembered my mom. I'm talking to myself and feeling old,
Wow.
So thanks, Mom. Yeah.
How much, I'm thinking a lot, how much of what you write comes from, I'm thinking it all comes from places like that.
Well,
it's all stuff you felt or you feel, no?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It is a mystery to me. Sometimes I don't know.
Is it ever arduous, Paul? Do you ever sit down and the words don't come, is it ever hard work, or does it always just kind of flow out?
What I've found is that the real work is done in my unconscious. I'll give you, and it began with the Muppet Christmas Carol, and I've told this story a lot. And if you've heard it, I apologize, but it's the best example of what I can of my writing style and how I work. The first song in Muppet Christmas Carol is Scrooge. You see Scrooge's feet. He opens up a door. He's walking through the mud and all, and as he passes these little creatures, they seem to get colder. So I'm going to write this song. Disney really wants a song about Scrooge to open the picture. So I'm in Brentwood. I grab a tape recorder. I grab a pad and a pen, and I grab a Lawrence Block novel, because I'm a big fan of that genre and Lawrence Block and James.
I love Lawrence Block. He used to come to one of those places where we go with me.
Exactly. I love that about him too.
Yeah.
So anyway, I go out and I basically pray. I go, okay, big amigo, a creative force, whoever you are up there. I mean, not out loud, but I'm just thinking, what the scene is. I had read the, Dickens, original manuscript. I read the script. I knew what the scene was about. Let me know when you got an idea. And I picked up the Lawrence, the book, and started reading Larry Block's, wonderful pages. And about 3 pages in, I put it down and went, okay, he's walking. When a cold wind blows, it chills you to the bone. But there's nothing in nature that freezes your heart like years of being alone. Oh, damn. You guys are good. If I knew your name, that's what it paints you with indifference like a lady, paints with rouge. But the worst of the worst, the most hated and cursed is the one that we call Scrooge. Oh, there goes Mr. Humbug. There goes Mr. Grimm. If they gave a prize for being mean, the winner would be Kim. It poured out of me. And
Wow.
so I can't write it down fast enough, but I'm recording it as I'm singing it on my little tape recorder. And I look back at a history of I get, okay, there's a new TV movie, at Fox with John Travolta. It's called Boy with the Plastic Bubble. They want you to write a song. I put it off, I put it off, I put it off. At the last minute, I sit down and it pours out of me. And a friend of mine who's on the ASCAP board of directors, wonderful composer named Richard Bellis, said to me one time when I said, you know what, I had this habit of procrastinating. And he said, you were not procrastinating, you were percolating.
Ah.
And what I realized almost immediately, and what has become the way that I write, is the way that I got sober as I surrendered to it. And and the best example I can give to a non-writer of what it is that we do is when you're trying to remember a name and you can't, and you go, wait a minute, God damn it, what's the name? I've known this guy since, what's it? Happened recently to you and I. We're talking to remember somebody's name, and you go like that, and then finally you just go, screw it. And maybe 2 hours later, maybe in the middle of the night, maybe 12 seconds later, it's gotten to be with them, sometimes with me. But all of a sudden you go, the name pops into your head. Well, who up there has been looking for it? What little crew of little guys are up there going through the Rolodex going, I know going in like it's going, here we go. Tom Jantz. Wow, that's well, I think the creative process is like that for me. That's me, that's my collective experience. That's my, it's kind of a constructive kind of dreaming but you're denied the dream until it's finished. And then you get the dream, and sometimes you get it a line at a time, whatever. But it's an amazing mystical process, and I'm just to have stumbled into this, and was the navigational nudge that I needed to keep me on the path to do this for a living. I encourage everybody. I'm a parent's worst nightmare if you want your kid to get a law degree, whatever like that. It's like, if you want to write. It's go. God put you would not put that talent was not put in your chest for you to suffer. Right. We need your words, and come to ASCAP. We'll take really good care of you.
Okay, so talk to us about ASCAP. How did you the president of ASCAP? What drew you to be of service there? Because you've been doing it for years and years.
Yeah, I've been there a long time. Well, they started in 1972. I joined ASCAP, and they've been feeding my family for since then. Because when I had my first hit. And when it was being played, they were keeping track of where it was being played and keeping track of the royalties. And they would send it to me after they took a tiny little percentage out for operating costs and sent it to me immediately. And we are the only non-for-profit PRO in this country. Every other one is I love ASCAP. They took care of me for all these years. Hal David was a dear friend. Who wrote, all the lyrics for Burt Bacharach. This wonderful, wonderful songs. What the world needs now is love. Alfie, one after another. Hal was a great friend, and he was a past president of ASCAP. And the president of ASCAP is always a songwriter. It's 12 writers and 12 publishers on the board of directors. We have 900,000 members and an amazing CEO who has done more for ASCAP. She's just stunning. Her name is Beth Matthews. And but Hal said, I think you should run for the board. I said, I ran for the board twice in the 80s and was rejected. He said, as well you should have been. as well you should have been.
Oh, that was the 80s. Okay, I get it. Yeah.
You know, so, but Hal was sober 40 years when he passed.
Wow.
A lot of people didn't know that, and I just broke
Wow.
his anonymity, but I don't think it would bother him right now, because he was an amazing talent, an amazing, generous human being. And he said, but you know, you're on the path now. I think you'd be good for ASCAP. And I was elected to the board of directors in 2001, and in 2009, I was elected when brilliant Marilyn Bergman stepped down after 14 years of amazing service to ASCAP. Oh my God, Alan and Marilyn are just stunning. And she, you know, she passed away recently, and but I mean, she did so much for, you know, for kids around theater and making music available to kids that were not getting it at school anymore. And I just children will listen is her whole program at ASCAP with Stephen Schwartz. But
Music
anyway,
and MusicCares is the
yeah, you know, it's exactly. And so it's a great opportunity to, you know, I spent a lot of time on the Hill. I spent time on both sides of the aisle. I long for the days like, you know, Ted Kennedy and Orrin Hatch were as far apart politically as, you know, I mean, you know, they absolutely, you know, came from totally different camps about how to operate this country, but they worked together and they created the Americans with Disabilities Act. They created AIDS, you know, AIDS legislation that, you know, that dealt with AIDS, stuff that protected children. Amazing work together, and it's, you know, during my presidency, thanks to everybody in the business kind of getting together and saying, how do we improve the rules? How do we get them to change the rules that we operate under, so it can be really fair and effective and easier for all of us? And by letting down our bridges, the drawbridge, and instead of, you know, shoving people out of the way going, well, I just got to get my ASCAP share, going, how can we all work together and do this? We passed the Music Modernization Act, and it was it improved the rules and the way that we operate, especially in streaming. So we can still do that. And it's a really interesting time. I have friends on both sides of the aisle. And when we do listen to each other, listen to each other, we can really make a difference. And the ASCAP board of directors is the hardest working, most, you know, speak with the heart, act from the heart, active songwriters and publishers, composers, you know, like, you know, and it's not just a bunch of old guys, you know, sitting around going, what are we going to do with these kids? Well, like that. It's people that truly care about the young songwriter coming up, and how do we make sure that this young woman who's writing with the headphones on so she doesn't wake the baby in the next room, you know, how do we make sure that she can, you know, when she writes that one that just goes, whoa, wait a minute, how do we make sure that she can take care of her family? You know, there's a lot of single moms out there. There's a lot of single dads. You know, my daughter and her wife have made me I have become a I hope powerful advocate for the LGBTQ plus community. My daughter lives in Colorado, which is, you know, the governor of Colorado is gay, and I had a chance to meet him just on the streets, and I went, thank you, because everything you're doing is to take care of my beautiful daughter and her beautiful partner. It's a really special time. And I think that people mistake kindness for weakness, but there is intense power in knowing that you're doing the right thing. If it's, especially when it's helping somebody else, it's the core of the program that saved my life and so many people's lives, is love and service.
And this is okay. So I want to honor the time that I promised I would, but this is the question that I want to go out with. You are of such service with ASCAP in the program. Is this something that came naturally to you? Did this come to you with sobriety, with recovery? Where did this was this something your mother gave you? Where did you get this? Because it's a huge part of who you are. It's huge.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And if you do it right, it'll get you adored.
It has gotten you adored.
Oh, no, but I thought about your first question. No, you know what it is that there is a selfish quotient there. There's a selfish little corner of it that I will tell you that I think is part of why that anonymous program works. Is because if you walk in the room and you've got 3 or 4 days and you're just really, really new and somebody walks in the door, you can turn to them and say, do you have a big book? Would you like a cup of coffee? My name's Paul. I'm an alcoholic. And for the first time, when you do that, and I could cry, when you do that, you feel, I felt useful and I felt honest and I felt free of, I wrote a couple of songs in an album with Daft Punk, and one of the songs
and won a Grammy for it.
We won the album of the year. And winning a Grammy is hard, but working it into every conversation is really hard. but there's a line in Beyond that says there's no such thing as competition. When you've gone beyond a certain place in your dream beyond dream, I don't even know if I can explain it, but there's something when you move past competition, when you realize that that the action, the breath is its own reward. It's like breathing. It's just, and it's what I'm surrounded with. It's like, I'm just, like, I'm the one that's getting a lot of attention for it sometimes. But the fact is that we live in a fellowship. We participate in a fellowship where that's what the fellowship is.
So were you not that way before, Paul? Were you not that way when you were drinking and using?
Oh, let me get that for you. I would say that there's probably still a bit of ego involved in being able to, be the guy that can help somebody, whatever, but no, I'll tell you what the big difference is that I was not thoughtless, but my first thought was not, wow, I wonder what I can. It's so easy to help. It's really easy to help people. It's really easy to help. And, and it's the thing is that, I loved Blow when I did it the first time. It was like, ooh, like, wow, exactly. I don't want to leave the room because I'm afraid that I'll miss what I'm saying. It's just, it's just all that energy of wow. And then I'm writing and it's like really bright and whatever. And there's something about putting your hand out and doing something or going, you know what, I can cover that for you. That is just it's just a high. And so there's a selfish element in it too. It's just, and I always tell people that I'm looking for a loophole, because my behavior was pretty selfish for so many years. It was about, just the party's on, and I was, I didn't think that I had a mean bone in my body, but when I look at the behavior through the years for the first 49 years of my life, especially when you have children that are now as young adults, will tell you what it was like to be your kid then. People said to me, do you think you were a high bottom drunk? I say, ask my kids. Ask my kids if I was a high bottom drunk. Ask them what it cost them by my drinking and using. Who was never at the games, who was never at the dinner table, who was off running around showing off. I was better at showing off than showing up, and that cost me, and it kind of, more importantly, it cost them. So, so it's
So was making amends for you, Paul? Was that, I think for all of us, it's the most freeing thing there is, but did you shock anybody? Did you surprise anybody?
a couple times with the brevity of my amends. You know, I mean, my friend Michael Jackson, who produced my first two albums at A&M, Michael James Jackson, not Michael Jackson of the Jackson 5, but Michael James Jackson, amazing man who taught me manners in the studio. Don't say you don't like something over the talk back before we've even had a chance to run it down. If once you hear it right, if you don't like it, step outside and we'll have a conversation in the hall, but don't in front of all these brilliant musicians go, yeah, but I don't like that, which is exactly what I did the first time I was in the studio with him doing an orchestra overdub. But Michael James Jackson, God, I just totally lost my train of thought. Where was I?
We were talking about making amends and
exactly. Thank you, Jack. He drove me home after a session when I was about a year sober. And as he pulled up, I said, incidentally, I said, I must just, I mean, we worked on Ishtar in Morocco, and I was an absolute drunken mess. And I said, you know, I really put you through the ringer, and I want to make amends for that. I really apologize. And I started to open the car door, and he reached over and grabbed the door, and he went, boom, and he shut it, and he said, if you want to do that, let's talk about it. We sat there for about an hour, and I got a lesson on what it was like to work with me in that condition, and that it was like a massive insult to think that I could wipe that away with so little attention. And it was a great lesson for me. It was, you know, again, it was, you know, one of the affirmations from gratitude and trust is I will learn from my mistakes and not defend them. And I saw what a huge mistake that was when, in the process of making amends, I need to really change my behavior, you know. And you know, and the return on change, and you know this, Vicki, the returns on changing your behavior is just lifts you up. I mean, it's like you're closer to the sun. It's just like, wow, this feels really good. This feels really good, and it's like.
But that doesn't, but I want to add, for me, I'm still very human at only 20 years in there, and I still do things that I have to amend. I have one percolating right now that, you know, I am not always I don't always make the best choice, even though I know better.
Yeah. Well, there's things that we do that, you know, that are just little things that nobody should be bothered by. That, for example, if something has got me a little frightened over here, and I'm not a guy that gets frightened, I can turn to somebody that I really love and tell, wait a minute, and be a man that can control things with them. What am I doing with this person when it has nothing to do? I'm just being rude to my, you know, and I live with somebody who will not put up with that. Tito, you know, sit down. Okay, what? You know, I think that, yeah, of course. I mean, on my way to a meeting sometime, you know, I have a car that goes really, it's like, you know, a really wonderful car that goes really, really fast. And when I've been driving on the 405 for like maybe at 2 hours and 10 minutes at 20 miles an hour, I'm not the most charming human being. You know, I just, you know, get that gun. Wait a minute. Get that walker out of my way. I'm going to a meeting, for God's sake. I'm a spiritual giant.
I'm going to a meeting to talk about serenity.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm, you know, yeah, I can be talking to somebody on the phone about the glory of acceptance and everything, and like something is like, what? But that was supposed to be tonight. God damn it! It was like so yeah.
Exactly. This is my point.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You've earned the right to be human. There were things that happened to you pre-verbal when you were just a baby that were unfair, that you are still probably working out. I think I am as well. I think that people and I wish I could see everybody that was here tonight, but I would say that one of the things that we can do that will make the world a better place is begin by realizing that so much of our behavior is responsive to stuff that we couldn't possibly remember. But something happened back there sometimes, and the thing is that my behavior when I was drinking and my behavior in sobriety, sometimes is unconscious, but that doesn't mean that I don't need to clean it up. So it's, and the other thing that I think is really important is to remember that there is a rack focus on our sobriety and on our life. And I mean, when in early sobriety, there was somebody that I knew I never needed to make amends to. This person was, I was fabulous. She was, oh my God, I will never ever reach a point where I believe that I need to make that amends. And then about a few months later, I'm lying in bed and there's a mail slot between sleep and wake. I'm not quite asleep. I'm not quite awake. And God goes with a memory, and I go, "Oh my God, I need to make that woman deserves an amends." And my God, how could I not see what she was going through, and what amazing gifts she gave me, and the opportunity, and what she was dealing with, and oh Jesus, how could I be so stupid? Well, no, you're just, sometimes when we're just waking up, we're not really sure. Kind of, it's like, don't ask me difficult questions like, what time is it, when I'm just waking up? And when you're in early sobriety, in a lot of ways, you're just waking up. So, all that I will never, and I think that there's great comfort in knowing that you're in something that is a very fluid journey, and so labels are not going to stick necessarily,
But Paul, I'm woke for all intents and purposes, right? I've been around for a little while, but my reactions, that historic thing, that historic wounding is still going to catch me by surprise. And
yeah,
I'm a work in progress, that's for sure.
Yeah, but you know what to do about it.
Yes, I do.
And not only that, you're honest about it, and that's so you're transparent, and you're honest about it, and all, and you look great no matter what. So
Thank God, but that's a lie too. I'm using lights and filters. That's all a lie.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Because your spirit is visible, and it's, I mean, we like the attention, but you're being of service too, and you're so giving in this. I mean, you started out, and you throw a couple decent, couple decent compliments at me, and I'm like, well, let's do an extra hour, but the fact is that it's complicated being people, it's complicated being people. And I think that at this point in my life, I think I found a really lovely, easier, softer way to live my life. And it's just to not, don't let you realize that when in the middle of the night you sit up in bed and you go, shit, what's today's date? When does that due? Why did I say yes to? And when I'm overwhelmed at all, I remind myself that in the morning, that feeling is going to be gone. In the morning, it's over. I'm overwhelmed at night and under construction in the morning, because I get up in the morning and I go, okay, I know I'll do this first. Yeah, that's cool. Actually, that's easy. And you know what? I can ask James to help me with that. That's cool. And he'll be really good at that. And blah, 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 blah.
So in the morning you're in solution. So fear leaves you and you get into solution.
Yeah.
Is that? Mm-hmm.
And my morning prayer is really simple. I say two things. I say, surprise me, God, because the best stuff came when it was the least thing I expected. And I say, lead me where you need
me. Yes, the famous Paul Williams words that we all take away with us. Paul, I'm so grateful for you. I speak on behalf of all of the people who are watching, who just are so grateful for every utterance, every word, every piece of music, every thought, every feeling you've shared with us has been so transformative, so beautiful, so moving, so powerful. I'm so grateful for you. I know I speak for everyone when I say that. And mostly, I'm so grateful for the power of example that you are as a human being, the work you do with ASCAP, what you do in the rooms, how you treat each and every person, that everybody has a story of how you've been so loving and kind and generous. So thank you.
You make me feel safe. That's a great place to start.
Thank you so much for doing this. We're going to see you for dinner soon, and
Yes.
go eat a cream pie.
Stuff a big sloppy kiss from me.
I absolutely will, and Mariana too. Thank you, Paul. Adore
Bye-bye.
you.